everybody, welcome to my studio here. I'm Cenedella in Brookfield, Massachusetts, and I'd like to talk to you about palette knife painting. This is just sort of an intro to it. I don't know how well you can see the artwork behind me, but later on you'll be able to find it on one of my links at lauracenedella.com. So today I was thinking of this game that some women play with What's in Your Purse, and I thought I'd share it with you. So, here's my purse. I know that some ladies go crazy when they see this, but I wanted to show you what I take with me when I go places. And at the same time, I'm going to set myself up for this painting over here. Behind me, I have a painting. It's 18 by 24 image with a painted canvas over here for my palette. I have a primed canvas over here. That's a primed cotton duck. Not sure of the brand. It doesn't matter anyway. Stretch canvas. It's 16 by 20. This is 18 by 24. So I'm not going to get the same exact thing, but I don't paint the exact same thing anyway. I'm more of an impressionistic person. I brought along my journal. I did this for one of my workshops so that you can actually see the colors that I make. I can put it here and show you. If you guys have any problems with my sound or any problems with what you see or don't see, feel free to comment. Claudia is here and she's willing to help me with that. And I'm just going to get started because we don't have a lot of time today to get what I want to get done. As usual, I set myself up. But here we are. I say that I can't do anything without a spark under my bum anyway, but here I am today, and I'm going to show you what's in my purse. So this is my purse again. Now, mind you, I found this at a yard sale. I love yard sales. My favorite thing to do when I go away is yard sale, like yard sale in Maine. That's pretty cool. But so here I am. I have my brushes. I carry a variety of brushes when I go places. You can see that on my YouTube video. I show you the simple set of brushes that I carry. I have linear brushes, I have round brushes, I have flat brushes, I have very small brushes, I have 1, 2, 3 maybe hairs. I have palette knives that I carried. I tried to make my purse really simple for traveling, so I use, I'm gonna not show you the brand on this, but I use 2 palette knives. They're simple to carry with me and I can get a lot done. But I do have a kit. I have probably over 30 palette knives. I like to sculpt. I call it sculpting. It's using large amounts of material. My favorite is probably like plaster of Paris painting. That's pretty cool. I do that with acrylics. But today I'm going to use oils, and I'll introduce you to my palette as we go. If you don't have what I have at home, you don't have to. You just have to have something similar. If I say red, you say red. If I say yellow, you say yellow. It might be gold, it might be yellow ochre. It's okay. It's in the yellow family. So you don't have to paint things pink because I say that they're pink. You can paint it lavender. It's okay. It's your work. I'm going to share with you what I'm working on today. And then I'm going to actually do it most of the time so that you can see. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time to do what I want to do. So we're going to get at it again. My purse. I need a little dish. I save jars. I'm a wicked recycler. And I put a dish within a dish. This way I can have both of my liquid mediums. I prefer to use a mineral spirits, odorless mineral spirits, and walnut oil. That's what we're going to use today. I'll put that aside. I I carry a soap with me. I use a liquid soap to clean my brushes. It's in my purse, I swear. I have a little section for that. I made a little cardboard to protect it. You know, like a little container so I can protect it in my little purse. I wouldn't want soap all over my purse. And then I have trash bags. I have a couple of them. I have a big paintbrush. Trash bag. I put a trash bag down underneath where I'm working, and I can also put my trash in it when I leave. You know, leave it the way you found it. So today I already have a trash bag hanging behind me underneath the paper towels, so I'll put this aside. What else do we have in my purse? Grips. I buy these little foam things. I stick my brushes in it. My hands get tired after a while, and it's nice to grip the brush. I don't leave home without a permanent marker. This is my mineral spirits. You don't need a lot of it. You know, this will last me a really long time. And of course, I bought this at a thrift shop. Isn't it cute? So that's my bag, and we're gonna get started. Like I said, I keep rushing you along. So if you want me to slow down or repeat something, please let me know. But today I'm gonna do sort of like a high speed type thing if I can. I'm not gonna speed up the camera at all. We're gonna go at my speed, which, you know, could be slow at times. I've picked out my brushes and my palette knives already that I'm going to use, and I'll go over that with you later. I'm leaving them here on my purse for now. I'll just keep going, so bear with me. I'm new at this. I'm used to being in person. I haven't been on the go live for a long time. So back in the day, I don't remember when it was, I had the first year Facebook came out. I got it. And I've done live, but I've done live on the side of the road, you know, at the riverbed. I haven't been in the studio a lot lately. So this is my kit. I like to carry my palette knives in a case. I'll show you why. They get twisted and bent. I don't have an example right now, but, oh yes I do. Here. If you don't protect your palette knives, which these were very expensive, they will bend. They're not made to withstand the bottom of your purse. So I carry mine in a case now, sort of like a toolbox. It's my little toolbox that I travel with. It's lightweight. It's not that big, see? I don't always travel with the same supplies. I switch it up. So, but today we're in North Truro. This is, I told you before, an 18 by 24 print. It does say Laura O. Cenedella on the bottom right-hand side. And it is of the dunes from North Truro, Massachusetts. Just something about this, it just grabbed me. And here we are. And I'm packed. I don't know if you guys noticed this over here, but this is my suitcase that I travel with. Remember I was going to talk to you about my tools? This is one of those things that, you know, of course I picked it up secondhand. But it turns into a roller, a little luggage roller. Isn't that cute? Second hand. It's in mint condition when I got it. It's not anymore. It's got oil paint stains. But I use that just for my oil paints. It's a carpet bag, and that way my stuff doesn't get on anything else. I'm not going to put my clothes in with it or anything else. But this is packed to travel, and unfortunately we're not traveling. So here I am in the studio on a beautiful Saturday. And I'm going to share with you some of my tips and tricks. So you've seen the bent palette knife. Now, this is what you would call filthy. you know. I have a friend that always says, oh, I just hate how when you let a bunch of people use stuff, they don't take care of it, you know, and it gets filthy. That's okay. I'm always filthy. If you know me, I'm always got paint on something. I try not to. I found many ways to remove paint. If any of you ever have any problems, just feel free to email me and I can help you remove paint. Because I've done a lot of jobs where I've spilled paint. I'm not perfect. I'm just a driven painter. Something inspires me and it drives me and I just do it. So this has been one of these projects for a long time that I've had. I wanted to paint the dunes in Truro. I'm going there this year. Well, I was going there this year. I'm probably going to bump my plans a bit to the summer or early fall. But it just has a nice warm feel to it. I can see that the grass has got some, you know, textures. There's an awful lot of textures going on in here. And I'm going to try to simplify that because you don't want one texture to take over another. There are different layers in painting. This is the front, the middle, the back, and above. So we're going to think about that when we're working with textures. I'm going to work with basically a palette knife, but I'm going to begin this painting with a drawing with paint. So for people that are new, I told you I had selected my brushes already. So for people that are new, I did do a grayscale. If you want to look at your painting and decide where you want your colors, you can print it in black and white and get a grayscale. I don't know if you can see that, but I got a grayscale here. Google that if you need a value grade chart. Let's find a place to put this. Okay, so I promise that every time that I do one of these, I'll teach you something besides work on the painting myself. But I'm not going to be able to zoom in too far on this, but I will post it on my website later on today so that you can see what I'm doing. So now I have my gray scale grader on my image. That is a black and white print of the photo that I had blown up to 18 by 24. This is an 8 by 10, and I'm working on a 16 by 20. So I thought that I would do things that would help you along in maybe your landscape painting. And I told you that I always have a Sharpie in my purse, a black permanent marker. I'll do that so that you can see it here. And I do have a measuring stick that's quite large that will help. And I'm going to show you a little trick here while I show you the gray copy. So we're going to say that that's the end of my 8 by 10. And this is the other end. It wasn't taped properly, so we're just going to say it's about 8 by 10. It's off by a bit. This is a metal yardstick, so it's kind of hard to hold. Whoops. Okay. How's the volume? Claudia, how's the volume?
It seems fine. I checked the.
Okay, so while Claudia goes outside to check the volume, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this gray scale here. Now I'm looking back at the camera to see what you see, and you can't really clearly see what I've got here, so I'll use my pen here to emphasize this area here. Okay, so I just did a few seconds here of doodle. And you can see the different lines here. There's actually some here as well. I'll give it some grasses. And here there's a bush. And get a little darker. Okay, so in here it gets even darker. Up in here I see some real dark spots. I'm gonna put them like that. Just as a little line here, a little line there. Okay, so there's my grayscale. It's very, very dark in here. So this should be real thick. Sometimes when I go places, I only have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. And I want to get something down really quick. It doesn't mean that I have to come up with any kind of a composition. This is just like an outline. I think we were taught this in school, maybe in 4th or 5th grade. So I want these to pop, because those are, wow, look at those. They're really, really popping in the light. So I want to show that this has got a river behind it a little bit somehow. These are tall grasses again. I've been doing these straight zigzag lines, and now I'm going to put in some other lines. And I notice that area is getting darker again. I'm going to stop. I'm going to say, all right, so I'll put that aside and come back to that later. I'm going to grade the values in my picture. I've done another one. This I had to do using pencil. You can maybe see it clearer here, but again, I will post this stuff online for you. So now I can start to see the grays. See the different colors in the grays. I could actually paint my painting if I had time. Remember I told you that we're going to rush through this. But if I had time, I would probably do more of a little grayscale for this in painting too. You know why I'm very nervous about painting the dunes in North Truro, Massachusetts. Almost all the artists that I admire have spent their time down painting the dunes of the light in Truro and North Truro, and they're beautiful. So I'm going to put these aside. They're going to show me where I'm going to put my grays, shades of gray. I'm going to clip this here so I don't lose it. I'm starting with a new palette today. This is my stool palette. Now I have an old palette knife that I carry along with me for mixing paints. I don't know if you see it. There's a certain way to hold a palette knife to develop control of it. I just noticed when I was showing you that, what it looked like. See, I'm going to grab the handle. This way, I have more control. See? I don't know how trippy that is, but so, here we go. I'm gonna set up my paints. My palettes. I try to put my palette in order. I don't know if you've noticed my images, and you probably are wondering why it's like that. It's easier. I have had vision problems. I keep my palette close to memory, so I don't have any problems with the colors. I use two different whites. The painter's white, and today we're going to use titanium white. Next will be the yellow. Warmer colors on the bottom of my palette and cooler colors on the top. I'm going to use a lemon yellow on top. I'll show you what it looks like. There's a lot of color in here. I don't like to use a lot of different colors. You gotta learn your colors. So, like, every year I buy a set of colors. You say that anyway, but like I told you, you can pretty much use any of the colors. When I say blue, you say blue. Persian blue might be a little different from coral. But you get it. So that the camera can see this, I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to talk about that burnt umber color. I don't know if I showed you, but my bag has paper towels in it. I don't have a lot of them. I use mostly the rag if I can. I use old dish towels or whatever the family is throwing away. So, I do have gloves in my bag. I don't have many. I just carry a couple. If I have to, I take it off and put it back on. When I'm painting, that is. So, say I had to go to the bathroom, for instance, and I talk about that a lot. There's my palette. It almost makes like a V. If I added any more colors, it would go all the way up to the left-hand corner. Right. So we talked about palette knife painting is more for textures. I'm gonna do, let's see, I think we're gonna use a fast drying impasto gel. And that sits on the left-hand side of the white. It's a little stuck in the palette knife. I'll grab another one. Hold on. So now I've switched to another impasto gel, but I'll show it to you. So here I've decided to give you a little brief summary of my palette. And we can work up here so you can see it clearer than down here. I'm going to keep my palette down below. I'll show you how it's set up. So that's how I would hold it. See, my thumb lines up along each product, diagonal to the corner. Then I got all this area here for working my colors. I'm going to start today with a paintbrush so that I can get these different lines here. And I'm going to start using some of my mediums. Oh, gotta go back in my purse. Oh, I need some of that mineral spirits. So I'm going to put a little bit in one side of this, and the other I'm going to put a little bit of the, there you go, just a little bit for the tip of my brush. Cap this up really tight and put it back in my purse. Whoops. Okay, so a little bit of that walnut oil. So I buy my walnut oil in a can. I have taken it with me in places. I save those little bottles for that. The little blue bottles for that one. I keep my bottles separate so I remember. You only need a little drop, because we're going to use some of that thickener. I don't want it to be too thin. Right now I'm going to start thin. So I'm looking at my jar here, and I have some thinner on the bottom and some walnut oil, some impasto medium, a painter's white, a titanium white, a medium yellow, a yellow ochre, a red, a blue, and a burnt sienna. I'm going to put my thumb through the hole. See, now I have a glove on this hand I don't, so I'm going to try not to get any paint on myself, but as I said, if you know me, I'm a mess. So I'm going to come at this really thin in the beginning, and I'm going to start painting. I'm going to give you an opportunity to see what I'm doing, but I will put it here so that we can post the picture later. I'm going to start with some burnt sienna. See the burnt sienna? I'll make a good sized square for you to see. This will be my sketchbook. Did I talk to you guys about my sketchbook? I think I did. If any of you were watching before, I sketch out my color chart. That was a portrait I was working on, so that I can come back to it, you know, after a while, and I know what colors I was using. I might even give it a brand, because some brands are different from others. So I have some burnt sienna here. It's very red. I'm not so sure I want to start so red. So I'm just going to take a little bit of blue, some mineral spirits, and some walnut oil, and I'm going to thin my paint to a nice dark burnt sienna. And this is my primed canvas here. I use, usually, this was a fast one, but usually I'll do 2 or 3 coats on it. You can see some spots in this one, and I only put a couple of coats. But a couple of coats are good. Sometimes I get into this like I want it really smooth. I'm not so worried about smooth on this painting because I'm going to be adding textures. I do paint on birch as smooth as this board. And I can show you some samples of that afterwards. If I were out in the field, it's usually birch. I'm starting with my dark blue and burnt sienna, thinned with walnut oil and a little bit of mineral spirits. And I'm going to get my lines where my painting would begin. Where my layers will go. And where I'll decide where everything should be, and I will probably change. I have a tendency to work on it for a little while and notice that I want something else. And here I can quickly see that I have some sort of a slope that goes on here. You know, want to fill it in. There's a dark shadow underneath the tree over here on the left. And it slopes down here. Then there's another section where it slopes over. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's sort of a spot in here where it's almost like a triangle. See it? There's a triangle there. And then it's going to come back up here. And spread all the way down to here. Now, I need to put another layer of paint on here, and I'm doing that as I come back. I'm going to grab a little bit more of each color. A little burnt sienna with a little bit of blue. Now, when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. See, that would be the size of my finger. You know, finger size pile of blue burnt sienna. And I know that I need to put some color in here so that I can define the difference between the lines. See, if I go like this, it's becoming more brown looking. Maybe a little bit lighter in some areas and a little bit darker. I could look back at my grayscale and see where that happens. In here, it gets a little bit darker. There's like a shadow that comes across the grass. I can almost draw it out if I need to, you know.
Somebody asked a question, the difference in the whites.
So one white is really called a painter's white because it's a mixing white. It doesn't have a whole lot of pigment to it. The other one is a titanium, which has more pigment to it. So if I were to add the white to my light colors, for instance here, maybe to make that goldish color, I would add a lot of painter's white. It would not change my yellow ochre because it's not strong enough in pigment. But it's a great mixer. It thins it out some. It's an additive. I use it for an additive for especially palette knife painting. It thickens it and it's cheaper. You can get 3 tubes for the price of 1 tube of a zinc or a titanium white. So I hope I answered your question. It's good to have some sort of a base color on here. And I'm going to kind of spread this around so that I can see where it's lighter and darker in some areas. It's really dark. And some it's just slightly dark. So I won't make it too much color there. So today it's in the 60s here. It's beautiful. It's New England. It's typical New England. It could have been snowing a couple of days ago, and now it's a beautiful 60 and sunny. In the sun, it might feel like 70. Usually, like on a day like today, I would get in the car and drive to the shore because I get spring fever or whatever. But I'm not going anywhere. I've been pretty much limiting my trips out. Doing more painting. As you can see, I need to define this area now with some lighter colors. Just lighten my paint on my brush. Sort of like watercolor. I'm filling in the area. I'm going to switch to a larger brush for this staining process. This is called staining that I'm doing. I'm staining my canvas. See, I'm making it nice and smooth. Like a stain on furniture or whatever. Someone asked me why I start dark. With oil paints, you start with dark and you go to light. I add additive to this to thin it. Speaking of, don't know if this brush will fit in the jar. Huh. So this is like a watercolor. It's like wet on wet. If you were doing a watercolor thing. Very little paint, pigment. And I'm moving it around like a stain on my canvas. And here it's really light. But I need to start dark. So what would be my darkest would be maybe more burnt umber without the blue. And yeah, that's nice. It almost looks like the pinkish, reddish color that's there. My brush is starting to dry, so I can move it around from place to place. The smell of this can get to you. You gotta make sure you have a well ventilated area. Let my brush a little more. There we go. This is that scratching the canvas. I think sometimes it can drive people crazy, but I'm so used to it now I don't smell or hear or anything different than when I need to. So in here, it's really kind of dark. So I'm going to go back to my blue burnt umber for this area here. Kind of give it some direction. I'm going to come this way and then up. And really thin. It's layering. I'm layering. Starting off really thin. I'm going to go real thick, so it won't matter what I'm doing right now, but I'm just giving myself some guidelines. Some areas where I'll be working. So this is really, really dark in here. So I'm doing more blue burnt umber. And then there's some nice blue that goes on in here, but I gotta start dark, so I'm gonna start with blue. See, I picked up some blue on my brush. Mix it with the burnt umber. More blue than burnt umber. And go back and forth. I'll show you my colors, how I go back and forth with colors. So now, I did some blue. And then over here. This is just a collection of paint that was left in my palette. I'm going to give it all the way across. Nice and wet, like a wet on wet stain. I want it to dry really fast, is my intention. I'm putting just a dab of the walnut oil, very little walnut oil, because I want it to dry faster. And I'm staining the canvas. I'm not going to worry about too much today because I'm just going to slap on the paint. This will be fun. I just slap on the paint. Okay, so these are my tree line here. I'm going to get some sky in here. Steal some of my blue from down below. Move it up. I can put some of my dark color in the sky. So this is a mixture of the blue and the burnt umber. More of the blue and less of the burnt umber. I have a really nice handle brush. I should show it to you guys for this process. I bought a special brush. Oh, it's probably in my bag. Forgot about that. Yeah, so it's got a short handle. It's really good for feathering. See, feather's really nice. So this is my underpainting. It's my stain. I'm just getting the canvas covered. And I hope you guys are enjoying this so far, learning something. I do have a tendency to paint on. So I needed to add a little more of the liquid and blend it in. My board's moving, that's why I have these clips on here. I have clips all over the place. Because I'm slapping it. See it rocking? And make sure, like when I'm outside, I gotta make sure that everything's really stable because sometimes I have a tendency to hit it kind of hard. I want to knock everything over, but you know the sand will create texture as long as I'm painting on the beach, not in a swamp. Water soluble. Oil is water soluble. No, it's not. So now I'm going to get some tree line in here and decide how high up I want my trees. I need a little more of the blue. I usually make my own colors that I start with. I'll show you that next. Just want to get some trees in here. My underpainting, remember, this is the darker colors. Needs to be a little cooler in the back and warmer on the front. So I'm adding some of the cooler blue as a backdrop for my leaves. Turn my brush on the side and get more paint out. Okay, so I'm going to need some more liquid here. It's not rolling too well. Switch brushes so my wet's not wet anymore. Okay, there we go. So I'm wet. I'm putting some of my trees in the background. So this would be the back of the leaves. My trees. I'm not going to give too much sky to this. Don't want the focus to be on the sky. I want it to be on the grasses in the front. If you haven't figured, I love seagrass. I have some of that in the front of my house. Right at the studio door. I can go sit on my porch and feel like I'm at the beach. Okay, so I know that this comes down like this. Some darker areas and some lighter areas. Dark first, because you want the dark to dry. Real thin. This is real thin. It's thin like a stain. Like, and here there's a heavy bush. And another bush. Maybe I'll pounce the bush a little. I'll turn my brush around and pounce on it. See? That's my little leaves. Darker areas. I'm looking for darker areas. Okay. It's starting to dry. I can feel it. Like I'm scraping away the paint right now with my brush and it's not taking it all, see? It's starting to dry. This will dry real soon. I'll move it around. Move it around. It'll dry faster. And move it around. You know, this is really dark down in here. It's almost black. But I don't really paint with black. I use a brown, more of a burnt umber. Okay. You know how I get that, though? Let's talk about that. I take, let's clean my
brush.
Take some of your liquid. In this case, I'm using mineral spirits, but use yellow ochre. Yellow ochre. Put a plus sign. Plus. Yellow ochre plus. Red. Plus blue so if I take one swipe of my brush, I'm using a really small brush right now, I think it's number 2 round. I'll look at it. I don't know, I think it's a 2 round, we'll say. I'm going to take one little swipe of my yellow ochre and one swipe of my red and one swipe of my blue and mix it all together, and I get a brown. See? I don't know if you can see that, but I'll do it slow again. One swipe of the yellow ochre, one swipe of the red, and one swipe of the blue, and if you mix it all together, you get like a brown. So if you use more of one color, here I use more yellow ochre. If you use more in one color than the other, it'll get to be a lighter shade of that color. See? You can come back and you can add more yellow ochre to it and lighten it up. Remember we talked about the whites. Here's where I can add some white to get a tan. If I use the painter's white, it doesn't really change the color. It sort of makes it like a darker skin tone, but it doesn't really change the color. Now if I take a titanium white to that, it really changes the color to more of a pink. See that? Now we're going more pink. Red is the stronger of the colors. If you're going to use colors in order, you'll learn which to add and how much of each one to add. Sort of the recipe, it takes practice. So this is my white example. So I'm going to say plus white, right? So if I take some of this, I swipe it off with some white, I get more of a gray. Can you see that? A little more blue with the brown makes a gray, and I call that slate gray. That's my favorite. I will outline it so that you can see it. There. It's sort of a pinkish, grayish, bluish gray, like a slate. I like that color. So I'm going to say that that's the color of the water in here. So I'm going to pick up some blue. Now, I think I'm about ready to go with the palette knife now. I'm going to start with this one here. When I pick up my medium, my gel I call it, it looks like gel. When I pick up my gel, I'm going to use maybe a third more of the gel than I am of the paint pigment. And I'm just going to mix it right across the color that I got going on. See the color I got going on underneath? I'm going to slowly pick up some highlights by running this through.
We've got some comments for you. Learning a lot from you.
I'm going to go in layers because I'm a little worried now that it's not going to dry in time, because I typically spend 6 hours on a painting or more. So I'm going to go kind of thin. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn my palette knife so I have control of it. I'm going to put my finger on the neck. See my finger on the neck? And I'm going to be able to drag it using the edges. I told you you could use a credit card if you don't have a palette knife. You could use anything that has a straight edge. I do have one in my purse. As a matter of fact, I have my Tower Hill pass. That's not going to do me any good right now. So, take back out my bag. And in here, I have my lotion for my hands, and we'll use Claudia's Tower Hill pass in case I get a chance to use mine. So here's my member card, see? There's our Tower Hill member card. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to run right into my hand. See? I'm going to grab it. Do you see how I'm holding it? Just like that. I want to make sure that I have the same control I have with the there you go. With the palette knife. And I want to drag it across my canvas, and I'm going to allow the texture of the canvas to create something like a wave or some movement in my water. See? And I'm wondering if I should just like put a little more paint on there now. Pick up some more of the gel and the whites. I'm going to take 2 whites, equal parts of my whites. I use equal parts of the painter's white and the titanium white, and some blue, and I'm going to use all equal parts, so there's 1/4 of each color there. And we're going to just smooth it on here. See, if I put my finger here, I have full control of my knife, and I can drag it, and then I can return it, and I can drag it, and I can return it, and I can drag it. But that is so blue. I don't want it to be that blue. I'm going to go back to my colors here and get more of my brown with some blue, some yellow, ochre, and some red. To add that with some gel, medium. We'll call it gel medium. And you can do this with acrylics. You can use it a little bit thicker, but they do sell a great gel medium for acrylics. I've used it. I've used comparable paints. And both acrylics, I have them. Both acrylics and oils, I have comparable. I have the gel, and then I have the gel. One for acrylic and one for oil. So now I'm going to take a whole palette knife. This is where I get to control it, right? I get to slide the palette knife on its side down and cut it through my paint. I'll show you up here how I'm doing that. I'm going to come at my paint now, and I'm going to pick it up holding my card. I'm going to slide my card down through it, and I'm going to get a straight line of color. I don't know if you can see that. Yep, there you go. Straight line of color. I'm going to bring it over here, and I can actually create straight lines on my painting just by the tilt of my wrist. See? I can get some grasses in here. I can pull up any of the colors that I want. You can start from here and pull it up just by using the side of my, get to know your tools. Practice, practice, practice. So right now I'm going to go back to here. I'm working on the water. I think that's too blue. It's too blue, it's too white. I'm going to add a little more of that yellow ochre. There you go. One layer down. So that's my under color here on the canvas. Make sure that it's covered. See, I can scrape all the paint off. It's practice. Turn your card around and see which direction it goes. Use your palette knife and turn it around and see which direction it goes. So I'm going to pick up more paint. Coming back for more of the yellow, ochre, red, blue, and sometimes a little more blue, and I can get a blackish color. Claudia, you want to get the door? Yeah. So this, I know, are these colors down here. I'm going to start to apply my colors because I've drawn out where I'm going, and I know what I'm going to do. And I know what colors I'm going to use. So I'm going to take some of the gel, double of the white, I'm going to use both of the whites, yellow ochre, red. Red you use less of. Red goes a long way. Red goes a long way. It's like one of those things. Remember, red goes a long way. Okay, some blue. And I'm going to start with a darker color because remember this is the darker. So this gel medium does make it dry faster, but I'm talking like 24 hours dry faster. This stuff here is dry to the touch now. I can actually run my hand through the stain and get very little paint on it. But now I'm going one layer thicker. So I'm going to now mix my gel medium with my white and my white, my yellow ochre, my red, my blue, and then a little extra blue. So if they're all about the same size, 2 whites and 2 blues. So here we go. I'm going to mix it right here on the canvas. Pull it down. Now I get to do some tricky things with my palette knives. I'm going to switch palette knives. First let me get this line of paint on here. I'm dragging the paint across. I picked it up funny. I picked it up like I showed you. And I spread it across. So we'll do that again later. But now, I know for a fact that I can go up one more size, and I'm going to use almost the same tools that I have in miniatures in my palette knives. And I know that I can control it by keeping my finger here on the neck. The neck looks a little bit different on this knife. But now, this has a really nice flat end, so I can just pull it down. There, now that's a layer of grass. So, I gotta go back to this little mountain range up here. This is where the dunes are. I just scraped all this paint off. I'm not gonna waste it. I'm gonna spread it up in here. So I'm using all the same colors that I normally use. I'm using the yellow ochre, a red, a blue, and 2 types of white, equal parts. I'm just going to keep mixing it into my back painting here, my backdrop. And a little more medium, and some more paint. And I should start to form my mountain range here, my dunes. So I can also draw with a knife. If I hold it a certain way and I tilt it slightly, I don't apply so much paint on it if I have it slightly tilted. And again, practice with your tools and you'll see. There's a little dip here and another up here. Now I just turned my wrist to get the paint that's on my palette knife. See? Practice. I need a more defined line. I'm going to switch to some more blue. Some more blue with my burnt umber. mix it up here so you can watch me. So I'm mixing it with my palette knife. There, see, I got a darker color now. I'm just scraping along on my landscape. It's more of a green color. I didn't mix the paint really well because I'm kind of hoping that the palette knife sort of drags it along like it looks like it's part of the grasses and the dunes. You know, again, that takes practice, just learning how to hold the paint, how to grab the paint. What I did is I didn't mix it. I sort of just threw it up here. You can come back and get more. I want a real dark line in here. So just add a little more blue. Feather it in. I can feather it in nicely because I have total control of my palette knife. Now let me see what we can do for another one. Ooh, we could go even larger. Switch to an even bigger one. This is very similar to this one. I'll take the paint though. Don't waste my paint, right? Wipe it off with a rag. Okay, so now in here, I know that my little bushes come up. I can give it some direction. If I come back in here and get some more paint, get some more blue, add it to that color. Get some more greens going on. My little bushes. See? It's my row of bushes. So it's 2 o'clock. Feathering in some bushes in here. Or some darker colors. I left some areas where there's lighter colors. Because I'm layering my colors. I'm going to come back and I'm going to fill in more defined. Or not. Sometimes we can change the direction of the painting. I want to lose that line, right? So the largest area on this painting is really the center here. That would throw the painting off. So I lowered the sky a little bit even more because the thing that you really are focusing on in this painting, you always step back from your artwork. Step back and look at it. It's really important to do that. So if I look back now and standing here, I can see that I left less of the sky so that the focus will be that patch of grass that's over in here. And I wanted to give it some emphasis, but there's a lot going on in here. You have to decide where you're going to go with that. Are you going to sit there and throw in all the details, or are you going to give the impression of that? My hope is to give the impression. I see in here that it turns green in the grass. Almost all the way across, it just skips this one little section here. It's like a sort of a light foam green. And it comes across here. I can put that in now because we're doing layers and we're doing darker first. So I'm going to take some of the blue here, the yellow ochre. I'm going to take a little bit of the white. Remember, both whites. A little bit of both whites. And some more of the gel. I'm going to create a green here. But I don't want to mix it up too much. Maybe just a little bit. So I can foam green this area. Now remember, I have to start with the darker part of the color. The underpainting. I'm just scraping it on there a little bit at a time because I want to create some texture as I layer. You're going to see that I'm going to pick up some textures eventually. Add some color here, so it goes all the way across to here. It skips a beat. Okay, so I'm going to scratch it in, down. Here it drops. And then up above, there's a whole nother layer of green. I'm going to have to pick up some more color and some more gel. I'll mix it right on this one here. And we'll take this paint and we'll move it over here. I was telling you, you can do that. You can pick up the paint here and you can move it over here, or you can bring it down in here. There's some greens going on in here. Oh, isn't that great? Look at all those colors on the palette knife. See, you're going to eventually pick up some of the other colors. Oh, that's great. See? Then, let's see where else. Light. I have light going on here. I can even make it lighter. Let me get the door. Lighter in here, maybe a little bit, just so I don't forget. It's very light. And then a little light. So one of the things I do when I journal is I talk about the light, and because at some point you got to decide that you got to marry the light in the painting. You got to decide the light's coming in from this direction, because at 3 o'clock you started at 10, and at 3 now you've like moved the light. So I'm going to throw some of that light color in here. I see some of that in the back. Okay, I'm going to have to switch knives again. The paint's starting to... need to be changed. I want to make sure that I show you the different palette knives and what they can do. So I'm going to throw some more of that green in here. Try to clean off my palette knife because I don't like to waste my paint. If you hit your palette knife, like I told you, slap. I'm going to slap color on here. If you hit your palette knife a certain direction, it creates a whole different move. And you can do that with your credit card too. I mean, throw in some grasses, like random. So, I'm going to come in, I'm going to try another knife. We're going to try to put some more green on top. Some blue. I'm even going to add a little bit of the red with some yellow. Okay. Then we're going to pick up the blue that's here. I don't like to waste my paint. So we'll pick up the blue, and we're going to throw in these little trees up here. We're going to give them some color. Now, I've switched back to the smaller palette knife. I have a copy of one here. I switched back to the slightly bigger than this one, to this one. And I'm going to get some of this background tree action that's going on here. Remember, I'm using the darker colors first. There's more. Needs to be a little bluer, I think. Okay, so I'm going to move this around a bit. I'm going to take this and move it all the way across here. Starting with the darker colors, and I want to go thin. Add some good action. I'm going to aim for at least 3 shades of every color. Started with the dark, now I'm going to go 1 shade lighter into the olive light green. I've had to alter this a little bit for the camera, but it's pretty much the same. If you were to look at it outside, it would have a little different light, but it's pretty close. Cold lighting. So now I'm going to go just a little bit darker, but I want to keep the same amount. I'm just going to scrape using the tip of my thing, and I'm holding my finger on the neck. I'm going to deliver these little divots. I'm going to hit it and turn it, hit it and turn it, hit it and turn it. And it's going to create these little divots in the canvas. And I'm going to give this tree like some textures. Do it quick. So the negative spaces that are on the paint is going to show some texture. And you won't really know this until it's really dry. I mean, wet, it has less of a texture to it, but it is there. So now I'm going to go a little bit lighter. I'm going to pick up some of the gel and some more yellow ochre. Mix it in here. Some gel. Okay, so I see a lot of really dark areas on the bottom. I'm gonna take the same paint here and just move it over to here. Pick up some red, some blue, and the yellow ochre that I had, and some more blue. More blue makes it almost black. And then check my consistency. Okay, so I'm going to come at this now and I'm going to give it some more textures again, but with a darker color. I like how it comes down the hill here with a little tree. So we'll give it a little tree. And then a row of little trees coming up the hill. And then some little trees here. So I'm sort of scraping it on there to give it some texture as I go. And if I hit it on the side, it'll pounce it. I'm filling the tip of my pen. It's sort of like a pen now, and I can actually make little leaves if I hold this. Oh, I can actually draw a tree here using my knife. And again, that takes practice. I can't tell you how important it is to get to know your tools. You know, practice, practice, practice. I paint the same landscapes at different seasons. I like when the trees are bare because then you can really see the detail in the trees. I'm throwing in some tree stumps in here now. And some darker colors. Clean off my palette. Okay, I'm going to give it some more controlled leaves again using the tip of my palette knife. I can work it around different shapes to get the trees. So I can turn my hand and it delivers paint in different directions. You can add a little more blue to that. It seems to be getting more cranberry. There's a real nice dark area down under in here, so that means it's got nice little leaves on top. I need to have it lighter in the back and warmer in the front. See, I'm moving. More paint. More gel. So in here it sort of has a dip. So I give it some high grass. Look, see. Some stubbles of leaves. I had to turn my palette knife over to access the paint on the other side. See, my smaller brushes will give my smaller knives will give smaller strokes. I don't know if you can see these little tiny direction. You could do very little at one time. I mean, this could take months to paint if I did it really small like this. But I'm going to give you more of an impression of it in less detail. A little more blue. We're going to make it more black. Get underneath again. Remember, layer. I'm doing that now. Getting underneath. It has a dip in here. Comes up and over. And has a little dip here. Okay, so I'm kind of thin right now, but I can still give it some texture. I don't know if you see my scraping away. It gives it sort of a texture. Come back over in here and get the darker colors. There's a shadow here in the grass. And then there's a little bush. Right here. Little bush. Another hill. And here there's another hill. So I'm just dragging my paint around now. Come back over here and get some more of this. A little bit darker again. Gonna get some dark, real darks in here. I left some spaces for lights, but I want to get some darks in here. I'm just going to keep going around and finding these little spots. There's like a little step ladder of color here. I can kind of throw it on there. All my darks. Okay, remember, step back from your piece every now and then, like, I don't know, maybe set every half hour, every hour, you come back and you look at it. You see it in a totally different light. Now I have a window behind me, so there are areas that I gotta move around so that I can see it clearly. Okay, so in here, we need to demonstrate some light before I can see dark, I think. So I can take some of this here and move it around. I want to lighten it up. I'm going to use some white and yellow ochre and some gel. I'm just going to give it a nice little oomph here. Nice little row of bush right about here. So I'm going to just put a little bit of color in here. A little light color. I don't want to put too much because I know I can lose it. And then in here, I have this little sand that I'm going to make sure that I get that. And again, all I'm doing is turning my palette knife. I can scoop up my paint and I can turn my palette knife in certain directions. And here now, see, I got this all real light. I can throw in some of that lighter color here. And it dips pretty light here. So I can pick up some more white, some more gel, and some yellow ochre. And my paint's getting thicker now because I'm on my second layer. I can come in here and slightly mix it together. And come in here and add some of that light color in here so I don't lose it when I go dark. I think it's kind of important to define these hills here by giving it light dark. Sometimes you have to go light dark, see? Just pulled some grass out of there. And then here, some light. And then here. See some light down in here. Some light up in here. And a nice little light there. So now back over in here, there's some light back in this area, maybe a little bit above it. Come back and get both of my whites, some of the yellow ochre and some gel. And then whatever's on my brush, my palette knife. So I'm going to use the tip as like a brush, and I'm going to start to slowly work in some of these little colors here. This is my yellow ochre. And again, this is not a full portrait. I would be doing this if I were doing plein air, probably. Quick sketch. My quick is like 3 hours. Quick. Okay, so then I'm going to come back in here. If I hit this in different directions, I'm going to get different textures. I told you I'll switch back and forth to different palette knives. This one's very small, so you can get some of those little pink areas. Let's take a little bit of the red. Remember, the red is very generous for just a little bit of the red and some of the yellow ochre and white and the gel that I already have. And we developed some pinkish light color. I'm going to throw a lot of that on this hillside here. If you're using acrylic paints, you just go thicker if you can't get what I'm getting with the gel. And now I can pretty much just pat along here, slap it on. See, I can get some of that red that I started to introduce. I'm introducing the red to my yellow ochre, and I'm saying here, let's throw some over in here. Just going to dab it on there. And see, when I dab it, I'm getting textures. I'm picking up some of the color that's underneath and leaving some of it behind. I'm going to move it around. Come back and get some more white. I'm going to go a little bit later. Pick up some of the yellow ochre with the gel. I'm going to throw some on the hillside over here. See, in this area here, there's like, comes up here. And it moves down into here. Maybe a line of it over here. Some that goes down the hill. As I introduce it to these other colors, you're going to see that it'll start to change to the other colors. I mean, they're a little bit tacky, so they'll pick up each other with some texture. I'm just hitting it on its belly. This would be considered its belly. See the belly? I'm just dabbing it along in here, and I'm mixing my color, not mixing my colors, introducing my colors to each other. Mixing would be like slowly, moving it around so that you get that dark color there. That was mixing. Now I'm just introducing my colors gently, using my palette knife's belly to splash them down there with a pounce. Pounce, 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 pounce. And I'm starting to get that hillside that I'm looking for. I'm gonna have to go kind of fast because it's kind of late. Didn't get very far as I had suspected. But I'm gonna throw in some the light color up in here in my dark area. Bring some of that green down into my hillside. See how the blue behind it is making some sort of a lighter green up in here? I can take that and introduce it to my hillside when I come back. Bringing my color around, I'm creating sort of a technique by moving my colors around. And it's starting to create texture. You have bushes that start at the bottom and work their way up. I want to get some of that green on there rather quickly. introduce some of that medium yellow now for my lighter color. All the same colors, but now I'm adding a little bit of the medium yellow with some gel. Try to get the tips of these trees here. See? Creates another green, so this will be our fourth green. And again, you can't learn all this in just a few hours. It takes practice. It takes a couple of years to get to know your tools. Go a little bit lighter. Get some of that lighting in here. Okay, so I'm going to just give you the effects over here quickly and move on so that we can get to the grasses. So this is that lighter yellow now. Using the same gel and the same color that was here before. I'm slightly mixing it in, but not. I'm going to come back and then just brush it on in the light areas. I'm going to give it some highlights in my leaves where the sun might be hitting the trees. There's some green in here, and since I have so much green on my palette knife, I'm going to use it here. Lighten it. From the bottom up. Nice and light across here. Every time I introduce paint, more gel. Gel, 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 gel. So we're almost done with this section here, and I need to get the grasses in, so I don't know how well you guys can see it. Sort of at the end. I'm going to teach some workshops that are longer, maybe 6 hours. We can always go over this again if anyone has an interest in painting this again. I'm more than willing to even go there and paint it with you. I go to Truro North Truro, a couple times a year. I'm gonna now take some of the white and white, my remaining yellow ochre, and some yellow. We're just gonna run it through with some gel, and we're gonna quickly put this grass on here, because look, hey, running out of time. I'm gonna throw in some grass. I'm gonna switch my palette knife after I apply this, and I'm gonna try a couple different ones. Try this color. We're gonna do layers of color quickly, because I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm just gonna throw this layer in here quickly. Okay, so that's all cleaned off now in a sense. Switch to a larger one. Some more yellow ochre. Okay, here's my yellow ochre and white and gel. And I picked up a little bit of that dark color. I'm not going to mix it, I'm just going to run my palette knife through it. And I'm going to take a little bit of each one of these colors. I'm going to throw it in here. Strokes. Remember, I got my credit card, so when I'm done with this, I can use my credit card to get the grass lines. There's a whole row here where it gets really light. I would say give myself some areas in here of white. Okay. So there's some reflection in the water, so I'm going to give it a little bit of grass in the water below. Looking for a darker color again. I switched to my large palette knife, so I can get those colors on here quickly. So I'm just throwing in some darker areas in my grasses. Some more here. I can sort of control it now. Decide where I want to put my grass. How I want to put my grass. Going light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. My grasses, I left the area a little bit lighter than I did on the top. Now, since I'm not going to be able to totally finish this with you, I'm going to leave the side to the side and just throw some color up in there. It's got to get covered at least. Move my paint around. Still in this sort of texture. I need some more blue down in here, maybe. Start my glasses down here. Now, since I only have a few minutes, I want to get some details of my grass, and I'll just like throw it on there. Some of this color. I want to show you how you get the grass. So I've sort of got a lump of paint of many of these colors together on my brush, palette, whatever you're using, acrylics, oils, thick. Now I'm going to throw in some whimsical pieces of grass, sort of thicker at the top. And come back later on and define them more with more whites. Now I'm not saying white, but more whites on the white scale. If you were to look at your chart again, more whites. And then there's real white. I mean, like grass. Oh, I wish I was there right now. I know some of my friends are. Jellies. So I'm going to bring some up in here, because that's where it goes. And I'm going to need more paint. There's one in here. Couple little ones. And up in here. And here it's definitely orange. This is definitely orange. So we'll give it some orange. Sort of like maybe a copper, a pink color. So I'm just about done. I'll put my signature on it. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything that they want to talk about? I'll give you some time and I'll keep painting. This one's cute. It comes over.
I don't see, no questions, just that they think it's
Okay.
great.
So I'm going to throw in a row of grass in here. I have a few minutes. Some little beads of grass. So with your credit card, you can get the same effect. I'll switch to that quick, I'll steal the paint. But I prefer to use this as a... So I'm going to give it some dark on the bottom up.
People are thanking you for sharing your knowledge and passion.
Thank you for coming today. Hope you guys learned something. I hope you had some fun and really, seriously, learn your tools. Practice, practice, practice. Paint on. Happy day. Bye.